It's majorly tied to Trump's big speech before Congress. Investors were very happy with his tone.
You know Peter Doocy as the sharp, unflappable White House correspondent who never shies away from tough questions, right? But what if I told you the real surprise isn't Peter himself, but the extraordinary woman by his side? Take a deep breath, because when you see Peter Doocy's wife, Vaughn, you'll realize there's a whole new story behind the headlines. Today, we're diving deep into the life, career, and untold moments of the woman who stole the heart of Fox News' most recognizable reporter. And trust us, there's more to her than meets the eye. But first, what happens when two rising stars collide behind the scenes? Number 1. The reporter behind the anchor. She walked into Fox's junior reporter program and never left the spotlight. Vaughn did not stumble into broadcast journalism by accident. Born in 1989 in Washington, D.C., she spent her teenage years at a Christian boarding school where discipline met curiosity. Behind those red brick walls, she learned to ask hard questions and hold her ground. By the time she graduated from high school, her sights were set on one goal: telling stories that matter. After earning her broadcast journalism degree in 2010, Vaughn launched her career across digital platforms. She contributed to Yahoo News and MSN, paved her way through bylines at the New York Post and Yahoo Finance. Each article honed her voice. Each headline sharpened her instincts. Reporters in big markets noticed her byline. Producers on camera noticed her presence. She did not just report facts. She painted them in living color. In 2012, Fox News invited her to join its second-ever junior reporter program. The program recruits promising talent and immerses them in real-world newsrooms. Vaughn threw herself into every assignment. She chased down political rallies in New Hampshire. She watched Senate votes from cramped press galleries. She filed live hits with barely a moment's notice. By the end of her first year, she had already covered a state primary, a natural disaster in the Midwest, and a high-profile Senate hearing. Let us talk about that first on-air moment. Cameras rolling, confidence intact. She delivered a tight, 20-second report on economic forecasts in front of the State House dome. No script in hand. She leaned in, speaking directly to the viewer. Her tone was firm but warm. Her eyes invited trust. Editorial staff took note. Senior producers began handing her bigger stories. By 2016, her title changed from junior reporter to field reporter. She was no longer in training. She was the one setting the pace. She covered breaking news in Washington, D.C., from the White House to Capitol Hill. But here's the thing. She did all of this before she ever crossed paths with Peter Doocy. Her career path was independent, ambitious, and on fire. Her mentors say she combined scholarly rigor with streetwise tenacity. She could debate fiscal policy with economists and then chase down a witness at a protest rally. That versatility earned her the National Press Club's Breaking News Award in 2019. It was a life-altering moment. Reporters dream of such recognition. She did not dream. She delivered. Visualize her in the field. A mic in one hand, notepad in the other. The wind was whipping her hair. A skyscraper looming behind her. She stands steady, reporting tax day protests, explaining the latest trade negotiations, and guiding viewers through complex economic jargon. She translates technical terms into plain speech. She made quantitative easing sound clear. She made market volatility feel urgent. She made every phrase count. And yet, even as her career soared, she maintained a low profile about her personal life. She was focused on scoops, not selfies. She was about headlines, not hashtags. But her professionalism did not go unnoticed. Fox Business Network invited her to join its ranks as a Washington correspondent in early 2020. Now she reports on economic policy from the very corridors she once roamed as a trainee. She brings viewers behind closed-door meetings. She explains Federal Reserve decisions in a way anyone can grasp. She shines a light on the people shaping fiscal policy. And she does it all without losing a beat. That is how you become an anchor before securing a seat at the desk. No one handed her that spotlight. She earned it, step by step, story by story. And long before the world learnt she would become Peter Doocy's wife, she had already cemented her place among top political journalists. However, what happens when two rising stars collide behind the scenes? Not a rhetorical question. It is the origin story of Peter Doocy and Hillary Vaughn. This narrative unfolds not in the glare of studio lights, but in the shadows where ambition and privacy walk hand in hand. Number 2. The power couple's origin story. They first crossed paths in 2017. Two ambitious reporters are chasing different stories in the same DC press pool. She was the Fox business correspondent with a knack for decoding market jargon. He was the White House correspondent known for rapid-fire questions. Sources report they spotted each other at a late-night briefing on federal budget talks. They exchanged polite nods, then smiles, then notes. Their romance unfolded in plain sight, yet nobody noticed. They kept lunches low-key. Texts turned into coffee runs. Their work deadlines provided perfect cover. She said the long days on Capitol Hill felt shorter when he was around. He said he admired the way she translated complex policy into clear language, but they never confirmed details publicly. By 2020, their bond had deepened. That year, Yahoo Entertainment reported the engagement. They announced it quietly with a simple Instagram post. No red carpet, no network announcement. Just a single photo of her left hand resting on his shoulder. And 3 words. She said yes. Direct, impactful, and enough to send social media whispers into overdrive. But here is the thing. They managed this while covering some of the most chaotic stories of the Trump administration. Tax cut debates during the day, COVID briefings by night. Yet they never filed a love story. Not until they were ready. Insiders tell us that keeping things private was their deliberate choice. Reporters needed their full focus on the next headline. Neither wanted their personal lives splashed across Chiron bars. They viewed their private circle as sacred. And so, their courtship remained one of Washington's best-kept secrets. Can you even imagine dating under those lights? Imagine composing an economic spotlight piece and then slipping a ring on her finger between takes. Their relationship path was hidden in plain sight. Sources at people.com note that the couple's close friends were sworn to secrecy. No leaks, no rumors. By the time news broke, they had already weathered political storms together. They had shared private victories and setbacks long before cameras captured their first public PDA. And that made their announcement feel genuine, authentic, built on years of shared hustle rather than a headline-chasing stunt. Let us talk about that reveal. They chose April 26, 2021 as their wedding day. The ceremony took place at Montage Palmetto Bluff in South Carolina. Only 18 guests. A Doocy pun as the hashtag, an intimate moment in the midst of a pandemic. No big-budget affair, no network cameras, just family, just close friends, and 2 reporters stepping into a new role together. That secret keeper mindset defined their origin story. It showed that even public figures can guard personal milestones. They rewrote the playbook. No publicity tours, no press conferences. Just a partnership forged in the intensity of Capitol reporting. That is their hidden-in-plain-sight dynamic. Fast forward to today. They are married, co-parents, and colleagues in the same media universe. They still file different stories. He covers the Oval Office. She covers the Federal Reserve. Yet their headline reads the same, a balancing act between career and devotion. And it all started in 2017 with a shared clipboard and a mutual respect for journalism's front lines. Reporter couples are not new, but reporter couples who keep their love story under wraps while anchoring the biggest national stories, that is rare. That is remarkable. They built trust off camera. They forged respect through deadlines. And then they said, "I do," in a ceremony almost nobody saw coming. Here is the pivot. What does this hidden courtship tell us about the people behind the podium? It reveals dedication to craft and to each other in truth. It shows that passion can be professional and personal, and that sometimes the most powerful stories are the ones we do not broadcast. Number 3, the wedding that almost wasn't. April 26, 2021 was the date. 18 guests were present, there was zero fanfare, and a Doocy pun for the ages. The two planned to marry in January. Unfortunately, the pandemic intervened. Schools closed. Press briefings moved online. Public gatherings became forbidden. They had to postpone. Because vows mean nothing without safety. The postponement echoed Peter's sister Sally's own wedding delay. A family accustomed to live broadcasts found themselves waiting in silence. Finally, on a crisp spring morning, they arrived at Montage Palmetto Bluff in South Carolina. A moss-draped canopy framed the aisle. Live oaks lined the path. No network cameras. No red carpets. Only close family. Only those sworn to secrecy. Just 18 witnesses to a moment meant for two. He stood at the altar in tailored navy. She walked in ivory lace. Their eyes met. A lifetime of press deadlines and breaking headlines melted away. He had drafted dozens of questions for press secretaries. She had prepared economic analyses for the Federal Reserve. Neither had they rehearsed this moment. Yet they spoke their vows with clarity born of years spent asking and answering questions under the brightest lights. Steve Doocy, Peter's father and co-host of Fox and Friends, served as best man. He delivered a poem written in real time. He read lines that wove together fatherly pride and a reporter's knack for the perfect lead. "To Hillary, welcome to our newsroom of life," he quipped. Then he beamed as his son slipped a ring on her finger. Here is the thing. They chose intimacy over spectacle. They valued authenticity above all else. They wanted to remember the sound of live oaks in the breeze, not the roar of helicopter cameras. They did not want headlines about the wedding of the century. They only wanted the day they married their best friend. Their guests said they had never witnessed a ceremony so sincere. They noted how Peter's voice remained steady, even as tears glistened. They observed how Hillary's smile shone brighter than any studio light. One cousin said the moment felt like a front-row seat to history. But it was not history they made. It was their future. Visualize the reception. A single-string quartet under a wooden pavilion. Tables are dressed in linen. Candlelight dancing on glass. They toasted with sparkling cider. They laughed at Steve's anecdote about the bird that dive-bombed Peter during a live hit. The crowd erupted in chuckles, because humor bonds even in solemn vows. Can you imagine joking about a bird collision at your own wedding? It seems improbable. Yet, in the Doocy-Vaughn universe, spontaneity reigns. They had covered press secretaries and tariffs. They had chased stories on Capitol Hill. Yet they paused to relish reclaimed normalcy. What makes this wedding stand out is that it was postponed. It was private. It was genuine. It was a testament to resilience. Reporters thrive under pressure. They meet breaking news head-on. But sometimes life's most remarkable stories require patience and protection. This ceremony was a promise kept to each other and to their values: honesty, safety, and love. They left South Carolina not as headline generators. They left as newlyweds, ready to build a family. They carried memories, not video clips, and they did it without a single press release. It makes me wonder what Hillary accomplished after stepping off that aisle. What does it take to rise from a field reporter to an award-winning correspondent? How did Hillary Vaughn turn every challenge into an opportunity? Stay tuned. Number 4. From field reporter to award winner. She joined Fox's Junior Reporter program, and she never looked back. In 2012, she reported on everything from state primaries to winter storms from Manchester, New Hampshire. She chased deadlines in sub-zero wind chills. Cameras were rolling, and there was no safety net. But she still thrived. Producers noticed her tenacity. Viewers took notice of her clarity. By 2016, her title changed from junior reporter to field reporter. She covered high-stakes stories in Washington, D.C., including press secretaries, budget battles, and trade negotiations. She was in the thick of it. Her style stood out. She broke down complex policy with simple language. She snapped on-air analyses faster than most scripted segments. She blended scholarly context with streetwise delivery. A viewer could follow Federal Reserve jargon as easily as local protest footage. She closed each report with a tight conclusion that felt like a side chat. "That is what you need to know," she said once after a live hit on Tax Day protests. And viewers believed her. But here is the thing. Field reporting is pressure cooker work. One wrong fact can implode a career. But she maintained accuracy under fire. She cultivated sources and double-checked every line. Even during the most chaotic moments of the Trump administration's daily briefings, her voice remained steady. Her questions cut to the core. Her reports never wavered. Then came 2019. The National Press Club took notice. She won the Breaking News Award. The citation praised her rapid response to a sudden Capitol security breach. She was on site, microphone in hand, translating evolving threats into clear alerts for the public. She filed real-time updates as senior lawmakers scrambled behind closed doors. The judges said her composure was life-saving. They said she set a new standard for live reporting. She did not just win. She redefined what field reporting could be. Vivid verbs like chased and snapped do not capture the full picture. Picture her standing in the rain outside the White House gates, umbrella turned inside out, notes soaked, voice unbroken, camera light glaring. She delivered a 30-second report that became the most replayed segment of the day. Editors called it a masterclass in crisis journalism. That accolade propelled her onto Fox Business Network's Washington desk. She leveraged her field experience to unpack economic policies for millions of viewers. She tackled technical terms, quantitative easing, yield curves, market volatility, and made them feel urgent. She held Washington power brokers accountable on camera. And she did it all without losing the street-level grit that first defined her. Her journey from a trainee in New Hampshire to an award-winning correspondent is more than a resume bullet. It is a testament to resilience, to precision, to the relentless pursuit of truth. It shows that when the stakes are highest, she performs best. She outshines her peers, not through spectacle, but through substance. But what happens when the spotlight gets brighter? When your name is on the marquee, but your private life is suddenly everyone's business? Can you imagine carrying that momentum into your personal life? Number 5. Balancing spotlight and privacy. Imagine covering tax day hearings and going into labor 5 minutes later. That is not a punchline. That is Hillary Vaughn's reality. On February 1, 2023, she filed a live segment from Capitol Hill, but during the shoot, she felt her first contraction. Hurriedly, she wrapped up her report, walked across the street, and welcomed Bridget Blake Doocy into the world after a 30-hour marathon of labor. This was not just about work-life balance. This is about dual identity. By day, Vaughn is the Fox business correspondent who grills senators and CEOs. By night, she is a new mother, learning the rhythms of midnight feedings and early morning news alerts. Her husband, Peter Doocy, is no stranger to the spotlight either. He was a White House correspondent, the guy who trades questions with presidents and walks away with the soundbite everyone will quote, "Two highly demanding careers in one household with zero room for error." But here is the twist. Vaughn and Doocy keep their professional and personal worlds in separate orbits. At work, they are colleagues, sometimes rivals, each chasing the next big scoop. At home, they are partners, parents, and occasionally, each other's toughest editors. The newsroom gossip never leaks into dinner conversation, or the baby monitor interrupts a live shot. This is not luck, but discipline. People ask how they do it. How do you keep your marriage out of the tabloids when your job is to put everyone else's business on air? Vaughn's answer is simple. Privacy is not an accident. It is a choice. She does not post every milestone. She does not invite the world into her living room. She lets her work speak for itself. The rest stays behind closed doors. But even the best boundaries get tested. Vaughn's first pregnancy played out in real time. On the campaign trail, in the back of news vans, and on the steps of the Capitol. Her second? More of the same. Breaking news waits for no one. Neither does a baby on the way. She files her last report, grabs her go-bag, and heads for the hospital. The audience never sees the scramble. They see the poised, polished woman who makes it look easy, even when it is anything but. This is the dual identity challenge. Vaughn is not just a reporter or a mother. She is always there when you need her. She is the woman who can pivot from a heated press conference to a bedtime story without missing a beat. She is the journalist who refuses to let her family become fodder for ratings. She is the mother who teaches her daughter that ambition and tenderness are not opposites. They are allies. Peter Doocy gets it. He lives it. Their careers run parallel, sometimes intersecting, but always independent. No one rides coattails here. Vaughn's bylines are her own. Her awards, her promotions, her reputation, earned, not inherited. Doocy respects that. He champions it. Together, they model a partnership built on mutual respect and fierce independence. On social media, fans clamor for more. They want baby photos, behind-the-scenes moments, and a peek into the Doocy-Vaughn household. Vaughn gives them just enough to stay curious. A glimpse, never the whole picture. She knows the value of mystery. She knows that some stories are better left untold. But here is the real headline. Vaughn is not just balancing the spotlight and privacy. She is redefining what it means to have both. She is proof that you can chase the story and still write your own. You can be present at the biggest moments, on air and at home. And that you can have it all, but only if you are willing to work for it. So, what happens when the cameras turn off and the baby monitor clicks on? How does this power couple navigate parenthood in the public eye? Number 6. Parenthood, the next chapter. They announced the arrival of Bridget Blake Doocy with a simple post on people.com. No frills, just a tender photo of tiny fingers wrapped around Peter's thumb. Friends said the couple had never been happier, and family sources confirmed both parents were beaming with joy. Peter summed it up perfectly with 3 heartfelt words: "She is perfect." This reveal became one of the internet's most replayed moments. Viewers lingered on Bridget's first yawn, rewound to catch Hillary's radiant smile, and paused at Peter's quiet awe. But it was no spur-of-the-moment stunt. They crafted a gentle reveal rather than chasing a breaking news frenzy, choosing warmth over spectacle and sharing their joy first with those closest to them. On air, Hillary described motherhood as transformative. She explained that once she held her daughter, everything changed. Assignments were no longer just assignments, policy stories felt personal, and even tax debates echoed family budgets. Reporters at people.com noted how her segments began to include the voices of working parents she met on Capitol steps, shifting from dry statutory analysis to human-centered narratives. "These are the lives behind the legislation," she said during a land use debate, and viewers leaned in. 5 months later, on a crisp winter morning dusted with snow, she stood on the National Mall with Bridget swaddled in one arm and a microphone in the other. She translated housing policy jargon into urgent, relatable terms while her daughter napped against her chest. That scene captured the dual identity of modern parenthood. She was both correspondent and caregiver, guiding viewers through complex zoning codes and bedtime routines in a single breath. They welcomed their second child in April 2025. Labor began during a routine OB appointment after a tax day segment. Imagine? Again, they opted to protect those first hours from the spotlight, sharing only the highlights once the moment felt right. Parenthood reshaped her newsroom rhythm. Rather than chasing every breaking story, she moderated her schedule. She joined fellow working moms to advocate for on-site childcare. She reported that more families would benefit when newsrooms provide care. She also warned that journalism risks losing talent when parents feel forced to choose. Yet, her performance never wavered. Whether breaking down interest rate hikes or pressing Fed officials with sharp questions, she brought the same precision and tenacity. And through it all, her roles as mother and journalist enriched each other rather than clashing. Can you imagine pacing a nursery while editing live scripts? Picture her translating Federal Reserve minutes with Bridget perched on her hip. That is resilience in action. That is life and career converging in real time. In this chapter, they demonstrate that privacy can fuel passion. By shielding their children from headlines and protecting family rituals from the airwaves, they preserve the authenticity that makes both their personal lives and their professions shine. Next up, the unseen side of Hillary Vaughn. What does she reveal when the cameras are off? Number 7. The unseen side of Hillary. Vaughn, let us pull back the curtain. When the red light fades and the newsroom empties, Vaughn does not retreat to some insulated world of celebrity. She heads straight into the heart of the community. Colleagues say she is the first to offer guidance to a rookie, the last to leave a mentorship session, and the one who remembers your birthday even when you forget your own. Not just a leader in the field, but a builder of futures. That is the word from the Fox Business bullpen. That is the word from every young reporter she has ever coached. But here is where it gets interesting. Vaughn does not just mentor for the optics. She is the real deal. She is involved in several mentorship programs for young female journalists, quietly shaping the next generation of newsmakers. No press releases, no look-at-me moments, just late-night phone calls, weekend workshops, and the kind of tough-love feedback that leaves you better than she found you. According to colleagues, she has a knack for spotting raw talent and turning it into newsroom gold. She has been described as the velvet hammer, soft-spoken, but her advice lands with impact. Charity work? Vaughn keeps it under the radar, but her fingerprints are everywhere. She supports literacy drives in D.C., helps organize annual coat donations for families in need, and has been spotted volunteering at food banks during the holidays. One producer recalls seeing her hand out Thanksgiving turkeys with her daughter strapped to her chest. No cameras, no hashtags, just service. And then there is the advocacy. Vaughn is not content to just climb the ladder. She is determined to hold it steady for those behind her. She has lobbied her network for better parental leave policies, championed flexible schedules for working parents, and pushed for on-site childcare in the newsroom. It is not about making headlines. It is about making a change. Journalism loses too many good people to burnout and bad policy, she once told a group of interns. If we want the truth, we have to protect the truth-tellers. That is not just a soundbite. That is a mission. Ask her colleagues what they remember most, and you will not hear about her biggest scoop. You will hear about the time she stayed late to help a producer rewrite a script, or the day she brought coffee to a stressed-out camera crew before a blizzard hit. Vaughn is the rare anchor who knows every editor's name, thanks the interns, and never forgets the story's human side. In a business built on ego, she is a quiet antidote. But here is the twist. Vaughn's off-camera life is not a retreat from her on-air persona. It is an extension. Her empathy, drive, and refusal to settle for easy answers are not just professional assets. They are personal values. She is raising her daughter to see service as strength, to understand that ambition means nothing without compassion. She is building a legacy that will outlast any headline. So, what does the future hold for Hillary Vaughn and Peter Doocy? What happens when two of journalism's brightest stars decide to turn their spotlight outward, using their platform to lift others? Number 8. What's next for the Doocy-Vaughn duo? They've built careers on breaking news. Now they stand at a crossroads of possibility. Reported speech suggests Hillary is exploring AI-driven reporting tools that could analyze on-air cadence to predict market moves. She has said she's fascinated by machine learning's potential to augment field reporting. Imagine her live hits enriched by real-time sentiment analysis. But here's the thing. This power couple may not stop at TV. Sources hint she's considering a book deal, an insider's memoir on juggling the White House beat, Federal Reserve leaks, and family milestones. She told mentors she wants to give voice to working parents in journalism, weaving personal anecdotes with policy deep dives. That blend of memoir and manifesto could shake up the publishing world. And what of Peter? His on-camera tenacity has made him a household name. Sources note he's pitched a podcast with Hillary. 2 correspondents deconstructing the week's biggest political stories, then pivoting to parenting wins and losses. Listeners could hear behind-the-scenes banter on Capitol Hill, then life-at-home snapshots, bath time debates, bedtime story edits, and sibling rivalries. Let us talk about primetime possibilities. Industry insiders report Fox executives have approached Hillary about anchoring a primetime business show, an hour-long program where she brings viewers into the Fed's war room while balancing interviews with young journalists she mentors. That format would marry her trailblazing charity work with her market maven reputation. Can you even imagine a live segment that shifts from inflation forecasts to a roundtable on newsroom childcare? That is the kind of duality this duo embodies. They translate complex policy for viewers and translate parenthood for colleagues, always with authenticity. Next up on their horizon, expanding family milestones. Insiders say they're planning a move back to New York City in 2026, closer to Peter's White House bureau, to give Bridget and her sibling access to East Coast arts and schooling. That relocation could spark fresh stories on urban policy, education equity, and family dynamics in a new context. What's clear is that their trajectory defies the usual power couple playbook. They're rewriting it with AI experiments, book tours, primetime pitches, podcasts, and fresh family chapters. And through it all, they keep their core. Rigorous reporting grounded in lived experience. We've unveiled a couple of revelations, from her rise in Fox's reporter program to their private weddings, dual identity juggling acts, award-winning field reports, and mentorship missions. If you thought you knew her story, think again. Drop a comment with your prediction. Will she write a book? Launch a primetime show? Pioneer AI-driven journalism? It is just the beginning.